you asked me if I own property. I do, but property in Swaziland is divided. You have the title deed property, which is in the cities where you have to pay rates and so forth. That is owned more like by the municipalities. And then you also have what we call Swazi Nation land, which is where I own my property on Swazi Nation land. There, you don't, you can buy it from anybody, and then you go to the chief and present yourself to say, "Yes, sold me this piece of land, and I want to do what there." Then you pay a cow to the to the chief, or give him whatever gifts that you can. Yeah, so it's different. In the city center, I haven't bought property yet. It's quite pricey, so it's a bit of a huge investment if you want to do it.
How have you been able to grow as a single mother, raising your daughter, and then at the same time trying to balance, being an editor? How have you been able to balance those three things?
First of all, I've been doing a lot of piece jobs on the side. I'm not sure if you should include that, but maybe you wouldn't say specific, because I've been doing them specifically on communications, which is why, against my contract with the newspaper that I work for, but I still do it anyway to, earn more cash. But you can just say I do other odd jobs on the side. Yes. But that also included selling bags, selling vegetables, just assisting people and then get whatever cash. So that has helped me a lot in improving my life personally, and being able to raise my daughter and so forth. And also with the land that was given to me by my granny when I turned 21, by the way, she gave me a piece of land on Swazi Nation land. Wow. Yeah, so I was able to, but then I had my fiance. We put up one structure, and then I was able to do the other structure on my own. So I get income from that as well. And then I do the other odd jobs on the side, which also give me a lot of income. So it complements my salary. I'm able to live a decent life. I've been able to buy myself a car. I live in a decent house. My daughter goes to a good school. I'm just happy. Sleep under a roof every day with electricity. I never run out of electricity.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
you're very fortunate.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
Do you believe, compared to other women, that you were lucky because you got this land inherited?
Definitely. It also has to do with luck, but also with being a good girl, because I wouldn't have got that if I wasn't a good girl.
Yes.
You should reach 21. When you get to 21, you shouldn't have a child. Ideally, that's how it is, and then that's when you get all these other gifts, all these privileges and so forth. So it was luck, and also by the fact that I was able to ground myself as a young girl, get to 21 without a child, and no scandals at all. So, but that it doesn't mean if maybe you have trespassed in your growth path or in your youth days, there's no future, it's all doom and gloom. You need to find ways of picking yourself up. Like I said, we don't have enough tomatoes in my country, but we've got so much land, and each one of us belongs to some place. You have a homestead somewhere. So you can take that as something that you can do.
You're welcome to do that.
Excuse me. You can sell bags. You can decide to sell bags. So you can do some handwork. You can try to get people to sponsor you to do some handwork. Obviously, with the economic crisis, it has not been easy for anybody, even companies, to sponsor other people, for charity or for community development. But things have improved now, so I guess it's time women pick themselves up and started to do better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And where would you like to see your daughter in the future?
Well, not a journalist.
No? Why not?
No, I'm kidding. I really thank God. God gave me such a smart girl. She's so brilliant. Sometimes she amazes me. I bought her a puzzle.
Yes.
And it's a 50-piece puzzle. And she did it in just one go. I've never taught her how to do a puzzle. Maybe they do it at school. I'm not quite sure. But she just fitted it like that. And while I was struggling, because the first time I was doing it, I was taking the pieces, putting them, and the puzzle was done. All her interviews, all her classwork, it's just superb. So it gives me an indication that I'm grooming a future leader, one. So I'd really wanted to maintain that, I'd really wanted to go beyond what I have achieved, learn more, travel, do other things that I have not been able to do. So I really see her as a woman leader somewhere. She's still young, so I don't know what she wants to be. Because sometimes she wants to be a police officer, the next day she wants to be a doctor, the next day she wants to work for the Times where I work. So I think I haven't really seen it, but I can see that she's got a hand in art.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a very good artist. She draws well, but it's probably something that's going to fall off along the way. Yeah, but one thing that she mentions regularly is being a doctor.
Being a doctor.
Yeah, she likes drawing doctors. So probably she'll take that route, and I'm happy with it. But I can tell you now, I will not stop her from doing whatever she wants to do. You know, when I decided to take up journalism, I knew I was going to be a journalist when I was in high school.
Oh.
Yeah, I used to write a lot. I used to like writing. I used to like reading. I used to enter essay competitions. At some point, I won. It was run by the UN. I just did a fiction piece on refugees, and I won in the national competition. So it was a lot of money then. Yeah. So I've always had a passion for this, and all my peers knew this is a feature journalist. And straight after high school, that's what I really did. I started writing, you know. So, but my parents were skeptical about it. They really didn't see it as a career. Like, why do you want to poke your nose on other people's business? How is that going to benefit you? What's gratifying about it? But, you know, I was able to defend it, to say it's not just about poking your nose on what other people do, but it's about changing the communities that we live in, telling stories, telling the truth, telling stories of inspiration and so forth, and holding government accountable for the things that it does. So it's broader than just saying this artist did this or this artist slept with who. It goes beyond that. That's for your gossip. You can read it if you want.
Having a voice for your community.
Precisely.
And trying to make a change for the good.
Precisely, yes. So, and then with time, you know, they started to embrace it, and, you know, now they're happy and they think, wow, you're a good journalist. So, yeah.
I'm very happy for you. And just to recap from what you said yesterday, you want to promote and empower women. You also want to give opportunity for general education in rural communities, start up a library.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I want to do. I want to promote literacy among the young. Probably not necessarily going to school, because I cannot afford to do that, obviously, but just to give them the reading material so that whatever they learn at school, they complement it with the other information that they get from the other books, from the library or from wherever. So it's one of my projects that I hope I'm going to do it pretty soon, set up a library in one of the rural communities in my country so that the children can be able to read almost anything they want to read. Probably with time, who knows, we could even go beyond just the actual books. Internet, access to computers, and so forth. But baby steps. And yes, like I told you, I was inspired by a story that was told by Mary Lee Upton, who's also from, I think she's from here, the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg. And she told me about one of our fellow Edward Murrow past visitors from Nigeria, who's done some vocational training projects.
Excuse me, just so you can read this. Did you see this message? I just want to read it just for you, just real quick.